The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
TV party tonight! What? TV party tonight!
Oh, we got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else.
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated here
To our favorite shows.
Oh, my circuits!
Everybody loves Hypnotoad.
Scary dog!
Pearson and Blurnsball.
Futurama!
Hello, hello, hello. Good evening and welcome to TV Party Tonight. I'm your host, Alexis Hejna, and joining me, he had to put a second mortgage on his house to get coins to play Dragon's Lair, Mr. Jesse Starcher.
You don't know how close you are to accurate there. I think nowadays, though, it'd be like, to own an arcade cabinet of Dragon's Lair. That'd be
Yes.
the thing. Put it in the garage and have that ready to go. Oh, I love Dragon's Lair.
Yeah, the adult arcade that I frequented for a while had a Dragon's Lair
Nice.
arcade with them, and I only got to play it a couple of times before they removed it. It was just there on loan. They couldn't afford to keep it there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, thankfully, it didn't cost any money to play. It's one of those you pay a flat fee and you can play anything except for the pinball machines. Those were a quarter a turn because they were because they basically said, we know there's money to be made with that.
Yeah.
But everything else was covered under the flat fee.
That's awesome. That sounds like a good time.
Absolutely loved it. And yes, folks, the Stranger Things retrospective continues. We are on to season 2. It is 1984. We're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of when Will Byers was mysteriously abducted into the Upside Down. And as everyone tries to get ready for Halloween and move on, just have a normal life, things are starting to get a little strange, beginning with what appears to be pumpkin patches being poisoned and strange creatures appearing in garbage cans.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we are in the high strangeness still. Things are not, they just not kosher in Hawkins here.
Not at all. Brought to us by the Duffer Brothers, starring from last season, Winona Ryder, David Harbour, Finn Wolfhard, Millie Bobby Brown, Gatton Matarazzo, Caleb McLaughlin, Noah Schaap, Natalie Dyer, Charlie Heaton, Joe Curie, and bringing their energy this season, we have new characters played by Sadie Sink, Decker Montgomery, Paul Reiser, and Sean Astin.
That's right. That is right. We got some couple 80s names there toward the end that you will definitely recognize. We got our new kids on the block, I guess, make another 80s reference.
Wait, is New Kids on the... I always thought that was more of a 90s reference.
No, I would say late 80s, early 90s. Definitely, I think as the early 90s hit, they were kind of going their own way. But yes, I remember... I won't get into my musical tastes here in the late 80s, that's for sure. I just saw an auction pick that I had taken when I was at an auction, and I almost bid on them. Every single Barbie-sized doll of the members of New Kids on the Block came really close, but I didn't.
Oh my god!
Would have loved to have had those to resell them, pretty much. But
you don't want to set those up next to your DeLorean.
Not, afraid not. They're not.
I just imagine you with this entire basement, wall-to-wall bookshelves, all covered with 80s memorabilia.
I would love for that to be the case. I have maybe three shelves upstairs that are dedicated to Back to the Future and anything else Garbage Pail Kid related or something like that.
Okay.
New Kids on the Block's just not going to, unfortunately. Now, my wife, that's a different story. She's got her own shelf somewhere else, and I bet you they may end up on it if I had them. But anyway, enough about New Kids on the Block. Yeah, we got a couple new kids that have shown up here. They are stepbrother, stepsister. This is Max and Billy, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's correct. We have Sadie Singh playing Maxine, or Max Mayfield, or Mad
Mad
Max, as
Max.
she is known at the arcade, who intrigues the boys by beating Dustin's score on Dig Dug.
Listen, as a kid, you didn't see, you just didn't see too many females playing video games. It just wasn't happening. It seemed like it was definitely a situation where you walked into an arcade and you were trying to, get your quarters up there from some other person, a guy, some other boy that's hogging the machine or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I could understand why these guys are like, hey, this girl's catching their eye.
Absolutely. And Max is a fun character. She skateboards. She's from California.
Yeah.
We have both Dustin and Lucas, who were pining for her because they think she's really pretty. And we also have, again, her stepbrother, Billy Hargrove, played by Decker Montgomery, who is just about as abusive and unlikable as can be, with the exception of having the best abs in the history of mankind.
Yeah.
And apparently and smoking enough cigarettes that I think he's trying to preserve himself in pure nicotine. I mean, I know it's the 80s. I know everyone smoked, but every time we see this kid, he's smoking another cigarette. I literally do not think we have a single scene where he is not smoking.
Yeah. The very reason why we have the smoking warning on the Netflix at the top left, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He is the quintessential like 80s bad boy.
Yeah.
That he comes in here. What we had in season 1 with Steve, it was, kind of towards the end, obviously, Steve is, we find out, a little bit more softer than what now we have this magnificent specimen of just evil good lookingness, I guess is the best way to put it. He is definitely got a bad attitude. You mentioned abusive. He is that much. We don't see him like hitting Max, but the emotional abuse, he's clearly yelling at her. He physically is like hitting things around her. There in this season, he almost runs down the boys. He's just, he's on edge, and you start to realize as we go through the season why he is sort of the way that he is.
Yeah, apparently Montgomery actually fought hard for the scene later in this season where he's physically abused by his father.
Oh, really?
Because he said, they had written him as the 80s bad boy, and he said, okay, fine, I get it, I'm a jerk, but you have to give me something more.
Right.
So they had this. So the Duffer Brothers agreed, and they wrote in the scene of his dad and Max's mom confronting him when they can't find her. And the cycle of abuse is real, unfortunately.
Right. You can see it. His father is very, very unkind to him, I guess is the best way to put it. But yeah, there's stuff that you can imagine has happened before he's found his new life with Max's mom. I'm sure that there was probably physical abuse at some point.
Definitely. But on the other side, we have Sean Astin as Bob Newby, Joyce's new boyfriend, who's just about as likable, fun as can get, even though I think a big takeaway is never take advice from this man. When
yes.
you do, you end up getting infected by the mind flayer.
Bob Newby's our superhero. Oh, man. Yeah, it was pleasant to kind of see him show up again. An actor that is evoking the 80s with Goonies, and you can name off a few other films that Sean Astin has been in, but him showing up and being this boyfriend to Joyce, and he is like the most earnest and most like honest guy. And I remember when we were first watching the second season, I didn't trust him at all. I did not trust Bob Newby at all. I was waiting for the swerve. I was waiting for the them to pull the rug out from under me, and he's only there because he's keeping an eye on Will or something like that. And that ends up not being the case. He's an actually good dude.
Mm-hmm. He's incredibly smart. He loves Joyce. He loves her kids. He talks to her about having them move to Maine. About how that he can get. Apparently, he works for Radio Shack.
Radio Shack.
You know, that was the be all job in the 80s.
R.I.P. Radio Shack.
I love the scene of him bonding with Jonathan, showing him how to work the video camera.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we know that Jonathan is, he loves taking pictures. We had the whole deal with him taking the pictures of Barbara in the last season, and he's like, "Hey, I got something here you might like." And we see him continuing to use the video camera throughout the season, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't speak out and say that there is similarities to that video camera and what Marty McFly has in Back to the Future. I think it's a JVC. It's got the red on it and everything. It
is. I double checked. I always check out IMDb's trivia section for these episodes to see if there's anything I missed, especially since in the episode where Steve and Nancy go to a Halloween party, and I'm just going to admit I didn't recognize their Halloween costumes.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
To picture it.
It's been a long time since I've seen Risky Business.
Oh, okay. All right. I got you. Nice. Very nice.
Because, if someone like Steve isn't dressing up as Tom Cruise, there's something wrong with the world.
Right. Oh, man.
If this was placed a few years later, he'd be dressed up as Maverick.
Oh, right. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
That does bring up, though, because one of the this takes place in the fall, right around Halloween and building up to the holidays. We have a great scene of the boys dressing up as in the Ghostbusters. The great scene of finding out that both Lucas and is it Will or is it Mike who's also they're all dressed up. They're both dressed with the Venkman badges.
Right. I think it's Mike, I'm pretty sure, because Mike is upset. He's like, "What do you mean? How do you not think that I'm not Venkman? You can't be Venkman."
And Lucas is basically, I'm Winston because I'm black, right?
Right. And I mean, what a great nod to definitely Halloween in the 80s and the Ghostbusters, because it had just, if this is taking place in 84, it had just released that year. I think it was earlier in that year, but regardless, I mean, my goodness, I remember when I first watched Ghostbusters and how it just defined a moment for me. I know exactly where I was. I didn't watch it in theaters as much as my parents would have loved to have taken me to something like that. I don't think they would have. But I was, it was an HBO thing at my grandpa's. I had it on HBO one night, and it was just me. It was one of those few times where it's just me watching a movie. And I'm like, I couldn't have been no more than 10, maybe less than that. If it was 86, maybe I probably was 8. Parents had gone to bed. Grandpa definitely wasn't staying up that late. So I was like, okay, HBO, let's watch Ghostbusters. And I loved it. So anyway, it just impaled culture at that time because it was so popular.
See, I was born in 84. So
okay.
It was here, but I did grow up on the Ghostbusters Saturday morning cartoon show.
The real Ghostbusters.
Yeah. the story of why they had to call themselves the real Ghostbusters is so hilarious.
Oh, that original cartoon. I remember the original cartoon. And the
Filmation cartoon.
Yeah, I don't with the monkey and all that.
Tracy the gorilla.
I've never sat down and watched it. We better watch out because we're going to end up referencing another action figure because we did that last episode.
Yes. I found the picture and you shared it on my wall.
I couldn't believe it. Unbelievable. Good stuff.
Oh man. But okay, so here's the question though. Like I said, we watch the kids getting excited and then going to school and finding out no one else is in costume. Oh my God, so embarrassing. Do
Right.
you remember some of your favorite costumes from when you were a kid and you got to dress up for like school or to go trick or treating or anything?
Oh my goodness. As far as I wish I was crafty enough to have created some of my stuff like these guys did in Stranger Things. You know,
Mhm.
these kids were putting their stuff together. I never put that much effort into it. I think the coolest thing I ever remember dressing up as, my mom bought this. I don't want to call it lipstick because that's not what it was. It was like it's probably about this thick, and it was just face paint, but it was camouflage.
Oh
So
yeah, kind of like what Arnold Schwarzenegger uses in Commando.
that might be what it is. I don't know, but I remember getting that and just like painting up my face and grabbed the toy gun and went as a commando that Halloween. So that was probably the first time that I really got into making a costume, and maybe possibly the only time. I didn't do much trick-or-treating after that. So, well, that sounds sad. I'm sure I did. I just don't know what in the world I dressed up as. I did dress up as a Harry Potter spinoff of some sorts at the arcade.
Okay.
Now, I used to work at an arcade. I don't know if I ever told you that, but
No, I didn't know that.
I actually worked at an arcade for about, I'd say about 3 or 4 years. I worked as a person behind the counter. Then I ended up managing one and moving and managing one. But anyway, at malls, I'm sure if you've been at the mall when Halloween was going on, like kids just go in there and they go store to store. There'll be a line of kids all the way around, and of course they stop at the arcade and we give them some candy or whatever.
Yeah, see, folks, before trunk or treat was a thing,
Right.
when you still didn't want to take your kids out into the neighborhoods, you at least had this.
Yeah, you took them to the mall and everybody got into a line and went to every store and got candy. So I dressed up somehow I ended up with like a white shirt and a witch's hat. I did not intend to dress up, but ended up with that on, and I called myself Drew Carey Potter. So there you go. That's mine. How about yours? Let me hear yours.
As far as a lot of my costumes were store bought. I do remember doing the Little Mermaid one year
Okay.
that I really, really loved. It was cute because the tail it was basically like a dress, but the tail had a slit that came back up this way, so I could still walk and everything, and I loved it. I think I remember one handmade costume my mom helped me make. I did Medusa.
Oh,
And I had a girlfriend come over and she braided my hair completely, just like a million little tiny braids, and we wrapped them in green pipe cleaners.
nice.
And my mom couldn't find a white robe for me to wear, so she got a black one for me, and it was still cool, still awesome, and I loved it.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I remember sleeping in those braids, and then the next morning trying to take them out, and my hair was just like poof, big thing of curly fries.
Oh, can't say I've had that problem for at least, I don't know, 20 years. 25.
I do remember one I put a lot of work into that I made myself in high school. It was essentially kind of a version of Two-Face, but I called it I said I'm a split personality.
Okay.
So I had a white button-up shirt and just a spare pair of blue jeans. I did crazy makeup on one side of my face. Mixed up a bunch of different colors, splattered a lot of it on there. This side was normal. I had like leave-in highlights for your hair. Did it on this side, not this side. The white
Nice.
shirt, I sprayed paint on this side. This side was clear. Did the same thing with different colors on the jeans. I even found out that I had a pair of boots, and a pair of floral clogs that had the same size heel. So I did the floral clog on one side and the boot on the other. So that way I wasn't tripping all night.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
And I
it'd
was
be messed up.
so proud of it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's pretty cool. What do you remember when it was you did that?
That probably would have been 2000, 2001, something
Okay.
like that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, again, even though I was in high school, Halloween is still my favorite holiday. I'm 40 years old, and I look for any excuse to put together a costume. as possible. And you can thank Mr. Dorian Price also for that, because he always hosts a big birthday party near Halloween. So it's like, good,
well,
I have an excuse to put together a costume so I can go to his party, because that man is he is the Pumpkin King.
Very nice. Very cool.
So, but yeah, so we got the kids doing that. We got and we're starting to see more at the climate or the cliffhanger of the first season. We saw that poor Will was having flashes back into the Upside Down.
Yeah,
He wasn't totally rid of it yet, and these are getting worse. And he's starting to see a strange, very large, very scary shadow creature.
Yeah. When he is, so it's not being transported to the Upside Down. He just starts seeing visions, and his world turns like he's in the Upside Down. But yeah, when you get a glimpse of how massive this spider-looking thing is towering in the sky above buildings, you're sitting there thinking like, wow, what is going to happen? How are these guys going to beat this? The Demogorgon's one thing. Now we have this thing. What in the world is it?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Will just continues from the first to near the middle to the last episode. He just continually gets worse. His visions get worse until he gets possessed. And then he becomes, I think, the Spy, I think is the name of that episode, where he is actually being overtaken by whatever this thing is. And he's barely in there, still kicking. That shows at one point, because he is able to like tap out Morse code just enough to let other people know he's still in there, but he is being overtaken.
Absolutely. Yeah, he talks about his nightmares with Bob, who doesn't really understand what the kid's going through, because they're keeping him in the dark,
right.
and Bob basically just thinks it's nightmares.
Yeah,
he thinks it's just nightmares and maybe kind of like seizures, and he advises him to stand up.
Stand your ground and say, go away. Go away.
And that turned out to be a huge mistake.
That's kind of how we end, I think, episode 3. Is I believe is it where he's standing his ground and he's screaming, go away, when this thing just drops right on top of him and infects him, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, we find out that all of the Upside Down has effectively a hive mind. And Will is now infected with this virus from the Mind Flayer, so he feels and he sees, and yeah, the Mind Flayer can tap into his brain and see, everything that Will sees. So Will is, a spy.
Right.
We also have, the introduction of Dart. Dustin comes home from trick-or-treating to find what he thinks is like some kind of pollywog. In his trash can, and we find out that it is actually a baby Demogorgon.
Right.
And the reveal when they find this out, because we see that he names him D'Artagnan, or Dart for short, which is such a cute name.
D'Artagnan was a Three Musketeers reference. Is that what that is?
Yes, because the boys kept getting Three Musketeer candy, and Dustin's the only one who likes it. And he gave some of it to the pollywog, as it were,
right.
And he liked it. And I love Three Musketeers too. I'm
a fan. I'll eat them.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite candies.
I mean, listen, I can't wait till Halloween rolls around, and
yes,
kids bring the candy home to me, and I'll have to inspect every single piece, make sure there isn't any kind of shenanigans going on there.
From when my nephew was only 1 year old, my sister and I decided to take him trick-or-treating, and we all got dressed up and we had fun. But obviously 1 year old, that's not old enough to eat candy. So she and I both got split this giant bag of candy, including 2 neighbors who did give out full-size candy bars.
Yeah, there we go. We got one person in our neighborhood that does that. They are known. Like, they are known that they are the ones that give out the full-size candy bars, and it's almost like Halloween revolves around that house, and all the kids kind of scatter out from that house, it seems like. But it's great stuff.
Yeah. More houses need to do that. See, personally, I just enjoy going in on November 1st when everything at Hy-Vee is now, all the Halloween
Oh,
candy
it's
is
all
now half off.
discount.
Discount
Right.
candy!
Heck yeah. That's the way to do it.
Saving my blood sugar levels for this. And of course, we always get a couple of big things of candy for trick-or-treaters in our neighborhood, but we never have that many. So
Yeah.
we've got it. So yeah, it's always like, well, what candy are we getting? Whatever we don't mind eating for a few weeks afterwards.
Smart play. Smart play.
We also find out that 11 is still around. She managed to escape the Upside Down shortly after the end of the first season, and she starts living in the woods on her own because she knows that the Hawkins energy people are still looking for her.
Yep.
And she runs into Hopper, who takes her in, and he agrees to hide her in his old hunting cabin. And now you got a 13-year-old girl who hates that she's not, she can't leave the house.
Feels like a prisoner.
Yeah, well, Hopper's trying to keep her safe. He knows that if the government, if these, whoever they are, find out she's there, if they get even the slightest wind that she's still around, they're going to come out and, try to take her back.
Right.
Yeah. But she feels like a prisoner and she's miserable. She doesn't want to be stuck in this house. She's not allowed to communicate with Mike or the other friends who she misses. She can't go out and enjoy herself. You have this scene where she says she wants to wear a costume and go trick-or-treating, and Hopper won't even let her do that.
Yeah. And there's also she's trying to learn to trust Hopper. And one of the things that we remember from season 1, friends don't lie.
Mm-hmm.
And Hopper, unfortunately, is, he's pretty busy with his job, but he has to go out to this cabin and he's trying to stay in touch with her. And I think he promises her something. And that was finally the straw that broke the camel's back, because he couldn't make it out there because he was investigating something, or it could have been a situation where I don't think he had fell into the pits yet or into the end of the tunnels. But regardless, he doesn't show up and she gets upset. Of course, they had an argument before. But she leaves. And what's really interesting about 11 here this season is that she isn't going to be with our crew until I think the second to last episode. So,
and even then, she doesn't walk in until literally the last scene.
The very
How
last
awesome
moment.
was that cliffhanger? They think they're surrounded by the Demodogs. One of them gets thrown through the window. It's dead. And they're like, well, who did that? Door opens and in walks Elle.
Slow motion. Here she comes. Yeah, it was great. It was done very well. Elle goes on her journey this season to go and find her mom. She's wanting to find some answers as to who she is. And, we open up this season nowhere near Hawkins. We are, we are treated to Elle's sister, 008, or I guess just 8.
Who goes by the name Kali. I refuse to believe she didn't pick that as a
Indiana Jones reference.
Well, actually, there is that, but there is also the Kali is essentially a goddess of death.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I was thinking Kali Mahashati Day or whatever.
That does actually bring up, because, we start off fine. Essentially, it sets up that there are others out there who also have the powers. There are other kids who may have survived and gotten out of the lab and have gone on their own. But this leads to episode 7, which is the lowest rated episode in the entire series, not just the season, the entire series, with Elle's journey to Chicago to find Callie and joining her crew. And it really does amount to a big old pile of nothing.
No, I get you. So I think that when I first watched season 2 back right after it released, I felt the same. Like, I shared the same sentiment. I was like, man, this episode does nothing for me. Why is Elle not in Hawk? Why is she not helping everybody out? What is she doing? What are we getting here? About the only thing you can take away from that episode is the conflict between Kali and her, where Kali she's not, she has no compunction about killing somebody or hurting somebody, getting revenge. And I called them the Revengers, which I know that's copyrighted somewhere else. But they are.
I was saying, but who would have thought she'd go after Superman's dad?
So I kind of thought that myself. I didn't like that at first. It's like, what is this? But what we essentially get is that conflict where she's trying to get 11. Granted, it wasn't there in the first place, but she's there to kind of tempt 11 to be like, okay, take revenge on these people. And instead she shows mercy. She saves the life of, I can't remember. Is it the guy? Oh my goodness. Cannot remember his name.
He's the one who applied the shock therapy.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't one of the lab assistants who did anything to her. He just operated the electro therapy room.
Pruitt Taylor Vince. So he used to, the first role I ever seen him in was in X-Files. He played a villain, or I don't even know if he was a villain in that. I think he was just somebody that, oh my goodness, it's been forever. But anyway, very distinctive. He has some kind of a condition that causes his eyes to move left and right really fast. And if you watch him in this, it's not as prominent as you see in the X-Files. But regardless, seeing him here, I was like,
so that's why it's so funny to joke about him being Superman's dad. He does have a very long IMDb page, and most of the roles are villains. He plays a creepy bad guy very well. And then then it's like, then he gives the most heartfelt speech to Superman, and he's in tears about how much he loves him, and he's what gets him off the bench. It reminds him of what a wonderful person he is. It's like, yeah, not exactly the same actor I would have picked for that, but whatever. I loved him in Superman.
It works. But anyway, that's really kind of all you get. But I understand back then I was kind of upset. This time I was like, okay, this seems to be a part on her journey, and that's what I took from it. Is like, okay, she's kind of evolving a little bit and showing where she stands. She's very influential throughout this whole thing, and every kid's got to go through that journey to kind of learn who they are. And she could have went down a very dark road in episode 7 if she wanted to, but she didn't. So that's really all I can say.
Yeah, but in the end, the only real useful takeaway from this episode is that Eleven learns that Brenner is still alive. He wasn't taken out by the Demogorgon in season 1 like we thought. He's still out there. And, he won't show up again until season 4, but that's literally the only useful thing that we take from this.
Yeah. Well, he's out there.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I get the feeling that they wanted to have a reason why Elle returned at the end to save them from the Demogorgs, and they just had to figure out a way to kind of get her out of Hawkins and away from the danger so she could make a dramatic return.
I was kind of hoping, like, that's, we meet 8. We already know 11. I want to know more. I want to know that there's other ones out there and what they can do, but that doesn't happen here, nor does it happen in we don't meet any other ones here as we go through the rest of the series, as far as I know.
That's true. I thought they were going to set up that more kids had escaped the lab.
Right.
But in the end, there's only 3 kids that we learn about: 11, Collie, and number 1, Henry Creel.
Oh, that's right. Vecna. Yeah. Shoot, I forgot it. How could I forget? I can't wait to revisit that season.
Oh, yeah. 2 more months to go. But yeah, going back to what we're talking about, we have her going to find her mother. Terry's flashback where she communicates to her daughter psychically it's nightmare inducing. We find out that, she realized that her daughter had been taken away from her when she was born by the government, and she launches all these lawsuits and none of them come to fruition. So she decides to break into the lab and try to get her daughter back. And she's stopped right as she finds her, before she can even hold her. And Brenner orders electroshock therapy to scramble her brain. And we see that she's caught in a loop.
Yeah, she's stuck in a loop.
She is going to spend the rest of her life reliving the worst memories of her life.
Yeah. That's sad stuff. It really is. And those, she keeps saying the same thing over and over, which we find obviously means something. We learn what those things mean. They're very important to her, and they obviously mean something to 11 too. But yeah, it's sad what happened to her mom, and again, it's another one of those notches on the kind of like horror belt that this series kind of puts in place. Because yeah, it's a sci-fi show for sure, but it is got so many horror elements to it. That's not a way I want to go. That's for sure.
It really is terrifying. You feel so sorry for her, and you hate Brenner even more, even if you couldn't hate him enough from the first season.
Right.
We also have Nancy and Jonathan, who are trying to get justice for Barb. They're trying to figure. They can't. They try to talk. It's actually very sad. They go, or Nancy goes with Steve to Barb's parents for dinner, and they're still holding out hope that she's still alive.
Mm-hmm.
And Nancy is just broken because she knows she can't tell them that Barb is dead. She knows the government will not allow her to open that can of worms. And she has to stay silent about her best friend dying.
And would they believe her anyway? I mean, I understand their grief, but there is probably a line that they would cross in belief too, that they couldn't cross, I should say, in belief. They probably wouldn't. But you never know.
Definitely, which unfortunately leads to her breaking up with Steve, but then she gets together with Jonathan in a very rom-com-y kind of way, but it is cute. They go to Murray, who is a private investigator, who also comes back and becomes a recurring character in the series. And it's so cute. They're talking about, and he assumes they're together, and they're like, no, we're not together. And he's just looking at them like, wow, you two are in such denial.
Yeah. How they get to Murray's, like I think the way that this was set up, because I remember watching this going, oh man, they're being followed, because they're going to meet with somebody, if I remember correctly, and it turns out the Hawkins Energy people are watching them, and they get captured and they're taken to the Hawkins lab, and Paul Reiser does this thing and does his speech and all this, and you're worried about them, and they are turned loose. Well, what you realize is that they planned on this whole time so they could record the conversation that they had with Paul Reiser. And that's, of course, what they took to Murray to be like, hey, we've got this evidence. What can we do? And then they end up staying at Murray's, and, Jonathan loved the pullout. I mean, it's...
I told you how funny that scene is.
Yeah, I remember sitting there when you said that. I was like, I do not remember that at all. And then I about lost it when it happened in the season. I was like, oh my gosh, how did I not remember this? Because that was freaking hilarious. Me and the wife both were just laughing so hard. Good stuff. And, so they finally kind of like, they take the next step in their relationship here. Jonathan and Nancy are finally becoming a couple, which we've kind of wanted since season 1. So it's kind of nice to see that. And yeah, Murray's interesting. I mean, he's got a great idea of how to actually, he's like, nobody's going to believe what you guys have to say, but here's what we can do. And he ends up coming with a pretty good idea to try and get the lab shut down, which I think ends up being successful at the end, we find out. But
yeah.
It's good to see it. I hate, unfortunately she breaks up with Steve, but Steve finds a friend this season, doesn't he?
Yeah, Dustin.
Oh, good stuff there.
I still love when he's talking to Luke, because it's like, what, you couldn't find Mike? You couldn't find Will? You couldn't find Hopper? No, why do you think I'm hanging out with Steve Harrington?
Yeah, those two, I remember when this happened, they become, I wouldn't say pals, but I mean, Steve is kind of taking him under his wing, because Dustin, he's definitely, we got the whole Mad Max Lucas thing going on, and he realizes that he's kind of getting boxed out now. She's not exactly full Lucas, pro Lucas or whatever, but he feels like he needs to step up his game. And the guy he decides to talk to is Steve, and Steve giving him pointers on that. And then just watching these two bounce off of each other, there's great chemistry here. It was a lot of fun to watch.
And I'm really glad in the third season we see that continue. We see that they're still friends. Steve is a character that very could have easily been written off the minute that he broke up with Nancy. But he stays with the group. He wants to do the right thing. He's awesome with that baseball bat.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, Negan, eat your heart out.
That junkyard scene, oh, it's so good. It's so tense. He shows up and he's in the bus with all of them, and he's the one guy who's like, all right, I'm going out, and he's going to face these things. It's so good. So good.
Yeah, I love that. What's he doing? Expanding the menu.
From boyfriend to babysitter.
He's the best babysitter there is.
They need him. They need him there. But yeah, I love that dynamic between him and Dustin, and yeah, it's great.
Absolutely. So moving on, let's talk a little bit more about Bob, because apparently the writers had always planned to kill him off. They knew that he wasn't going to make it to the next season. Originally, though, Bob was supposed to die in the third episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Will was supposed to kind of be possessed by the Mind Flayer and kill him.
Ooh.
But the writers loved working with Sean Astin, and he brought so much. They said, you know what, let's keep him in. Let's keep this working. And yeah, he stays around until the 8th episode out of 9.
Sean Astin, congrats on the position that he just bestowed, or well, just got bestowed upon there. When he's what is he, president now? Is that what it is?
The SAG, yeah.
Yeah. So
that's a position his mother actually held back in the day. So that's freaking
really
awesome.
Yeah. My goodness, could you imagine what it would have been like if he would have been killed off third episode? When his moment comes at the end of this season, I think it's the second to last episode, maybe. I mean, it is heartbreaking. You would not have had that happen at episode 3. There just wouldn't have been. They built up, and it's crazy to think they did this in such a short amount of episodes. They built up so much empathy and so much love for Bob Newby. Gosh, I can remember watching it. This is the third time I'm going through the series. Watched the second season with the kids when we went through it the second time. And I just remember how brokenhearted Caleb was because Bob got killed. And it's, it just speaks to the writing and how we have such a love for some of these characters. And he was kind of, again, like I said, I didn't trust him when I first watched it the first time. I was like, I don't trust this guy. And then, I'm sure like the previous episode prior to him getting killed, I was like, okay, now he's in some danger here. Is he going to turn on him, or is he going to do any of this? And no, everything, like I said, is genuine. He was such a good dude. And it was, one of those pure characters that ends up getting killed by something that he had nothing to do with in the first place, just got, involved with Joyce and was trying to be a good boyfriend and a good father figure to this kid and gets killed for it. Sad.
Yeah, because not only that, he's also the one who figures out where Hopper is through the vines. I love the scene of him deciphering the blue vines all over the wall and figuring out what it is.
Beautiful mind.
Because he's an inch away from just walking out and being like, okay, Joyce, you're being way too weird for me. But then he looks and goes, wait, I know what that is. And I love, it's like, what's at the X? Pirate treasure? Nice Goonies reference.
Nice. Love it.
And yeah, that you have the scene. They realize they need to. He's the only one who can restart the power because he's the only one who knows the computer to fix it.
It's the young girl in Jurassic Park all over again. It's a Unix system. Not Unix. I never seen a computer take that long between mouse clicks to get into a file directory. Just saying, I'm sorry. I'll put my nerd hat on the ground and step on it. But I'm just putting that out there. But anyway, I'm sure Bob Newby.
Maybe it's an 80s computer thing. I don't know.
Bob Newby knew how to take care of business.
And just how cool he is when he says, and boom, and splash. And it's just like, God damn it. It's like, why are you so awesome? And he runs, and it's the trope of, it's like, camera. Don't hold on him while he's smiling. You know that means death.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
Cut away,
No.
cut away. Nope, he doesn't. And it is so sad. Joyce is screaming, and Hopper is. It's like he's gone. He's gone. There's nothing we can do. And oh my God, it's so hard.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most disturbing moments is after they finally get out of there, they take another, like, I don't know, 5 seconds to kind of do a hover shot and just kind of go down as the dogs are feeding on him. And you just see his body just kind of jiggling as they continue to feed. He's not alive. It's just, and it's disturbing, but it's, again, very, very sad.
Absolutely. And all of that is building up to Will, who manages to signal to them in Morse code that they need to close the gate. And 11 returns triumphantly. And yeah, best cliffhanger the entire season, showing up to save her friends. And they form a plan with Hopper and 11 going in to the gate to close it. And we have Joyce, Nancy, Jonathan trying to get the virus out of Billy. Or no, not out of Billy, out of Will. Got too many characters. And we have Steve, Dustin, Lucas, Max, and Mike going to what we're going to affectionately call the central hub of these vines that have been growing underground. And they're going to start a fire to trigger the hive mind.
Yep. Get that thing out, just basically try to kill it off. They're somewhat successful. It's time to get the hell out. They end up getting cornered by one of the demo dogs are all on their way, I believe, or they had left. I can't remember what's going to happen here, but there's one left. And it turns out it's Dart. Yeah. Let me tell you about the Gremlins vibe that I have when Dart took off and became.
You heard the music. You heard it. You heard it too.
Oh,
I don't know if it's the exact theme or if they're just got the leitmotif of it, because the scene where Dart makes a run for it in episode 3. Yeah, you hear that. That is Gremlins theme.
That was. Again, such a great nod to one of those iconic 80s horror films.
Yeah, I actually wrote that down. That was in my notes.
Yeah, I had it in mind too. I was like, there's so much evocative of Gremlins because of that whole situation around Dart. But anyway, yeah, he throws some, Dustin throws some Three Musketeers down, and Dart lets them pass, which is great. There's, I guess as we get to the end here, I mean, tell them what happens here. What we get past, we're able to get the Mind Flayer out of Will.
Because they establish that the Mind Flayers like it cold.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing it's pretty chilly in the Upside Down. So starve a cold, feed a fever. They're going to turn up the heat, and you get a very, very violent scene of poor Will strapped to the bed with all these heaters and the fire going around him, and he is screaming and he's in pain, and Joyce will not let him go. She will not let out until everything is, purged out of him, as it were.
Yeah. They're and while the boys are working at the same time, Will's finally freed. He's out, he's out of the influence of the Mind Flayer. And then, it comes down to 11 standing on some crazy platform along with Hopper right there by her side, and she levitates. And so what's going on here? The Mind Flayer, I assume, is trying to come into our world and is trying to open up the gate, right, and get in. Is that what's happening here? And her goal here is to use her powers to seal the gate shut, push the demon back and seal the gate shut, which looks like she's successful.
Yeah, I don't know if the Mind Flayer could actually come into our dimension, or was just trying to keep it open to send more Demogorgons into it, or what. But yeah, they managed to shut it, and the season ends with the bane of my personal existence, the middle school dance.
The old snowball dance.
I was not popular in middle school, and the middle school dances were very painful to get through.
Okay, so you obviously did you make it? I assume it was your choice. You decided to go, or you got talked into going, right?
Yeah,
that's kind of like me. I was never like the popular kid, but the good thing was I could kind of stay in the shadows and not be noticed. It was rare that I got out there and danced. I'll tell you that much. I certainly wasn't dancing. It was more because of a friend's thing, go there and hang out and then kind of go back. But yes, the snowball dance here. And we get the, Mike is pining over 11 and she's finally allowed to kind of go out in the public. This is after I think Hopper has adopted her, right? Like, is that official here at the end of this season?
Yeah, Dr. Owens pulls some strings. He gets her officially adopted as Hopper's daughter, but he tells her, don't do anything stupid for a year. And Hopper goes, well, what about one night?
Mm-hmm.
And that one night is the snowball. And we have that. We have Lucas dancing with Max, and they become a couple. And poor Dustin can't get anyone to dance with him, so Nancy dances with him, and they have fun.
I love that.
And how fitting that the song they're dancing to is I'll Be Watching You by the Police as we zoom out and flip to the upside down because someone else is watching as the Mind Flayer stands over the school.
Yep. We're not done with the upside down just yet. Something is probably still brewing.
Now, the gate might be closed, but we know there are still forces in the upside down, and they are not giving up.
Creepy stuff.
Now, season 2 was definitely a lot of fun. I did notice there were a handful of things that I felt that they were trying a little too hard to grab audiences the same way that the first season did. One of the things I noted, and I remembered thinking this when I first saw this, we talked when we reviewed the first season about the Christmas lights and with the letters on the wall and how that became just an icon in and of itself, and all of the horror stores and haunted houses that had those up. I felt that doing the blue vines on the wall, they were trying to do that again. I think they were hoping that the new thing would be the blue hand-drawn vines all over the walls, which obviously did not catch on.
I was going to say, that did not hit the same note that the Christmas lights did at all.
Not at all.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to compare first to second season, I do feel that the second season fell short of what the first season's impact had for me. We already talked about episode 7. So if you're going to talk about episode 7 being like the worst in the series overall, season 2 is going to suffer for that. Back then it did for me. And I'm not saying that it is any better than season 1 now that I've watched it for a third time. That's for sure. It seemed to be more interesting again for this third time as I was watching it. I wasn't definitely as, discontent with it back when I was watching season 2 for the first time. But regardless, it was what Stranger Things comes to the dance for. It brings you all sorts of references and feels and synthesizer stabs. I mean, it is laden with that. And for that, I mean, I remember when I finished season 2 the first time, I was pleased with what I got. I mean, I'm glad the story continued, and there were definitely more positive than negative that I took from the season. So yeah, compared it to the first season, I still think the first season just hit better, and it was so unique and so new that that's definitely what season 1 had going over season 2 for me. But anyway.
Yeah, like I said, I just noticed a lot of things that I think they were really hoping would catch on. I think they were hoping that Elle's punk rock look, the makeover she's given, the slick back hair, that ugliest sin jacket. I think they were hoping that was going to catch on, like the pink dress and the blonde wig. And we don't get that. We get that next season with the multicolored jumper. That's what caught on again. Did a little reading though. Apparently, the characters that Cully is with they're supposed to be a reference to the Grant Morrison comic book series, The Invisibles.
The Invisibles, which I have not read, but I've heard a lot of good things. That's interesting because I did get this, like, when you look at that disparate group of characters that she's hanging out with, they do feel like a superhero team of just all walks of life coming together and doing some shady stuff. So that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, apparently they even have graffiti in the hideout, calling out certain parts of the comic book, like King
that.
Mob repeatedly shown.
That's
King Mob,
interesting.
yeah, King Mob is the character in the Invisibles. So,
Very cool.
but yeah, like I said, just there was something in on that, and so again, I don't think season 2 is as good as season 1, but it definitely kept it up. It was still a lot of fun. Everyone did an amazing job on it, and it definitely got us interested and excited for season 3. We were so happy the show was continuing, and we couldn't wait to keep going with these characters.
That's right. That's right. I cannot wait. I can tell you that I've already started season 3. I had this watched within a weekend after we finished season 1 talking about it. So I was like, okay, we got to watch season 2, and we were hooked. So, it can't be that bad. It was something that kept our attention, and we finished it. That's a beautiful thing about 8-episode seasons. You can get that done within a weekend real easily. And we didn't wait. And I've already started season 3, episode 1. We got that out of the way. And as soon as I'm done here, tomorrow, most likely, we are going to be zipping through season 3.
See, I hold off until a little bit closer, which, by the way, we got to get season 3 on the calendar.
Oh, yeah.
Because remember, folks, we're doing one season a month. Come back in October. You're going to hear us talk about season 3. We're going to be talking about the Starcourt Mall. We're going to be talking about multicolored jumpers and secret Russian labs,
Yes,
and how
indeed.
Carrie Elways cannot escape either playing a hilarious cartoon character or a cartoon villain. I love the actor, but that's all he plays now.
Yep. I think I was looking through my notes here just to make sure that we covered everything that I had on here. Only one other thing that I kind of want to point out, Steve versus Billy, and that brutal fight that they had, and Max, stabbing him with what'd she pump into him? It was some kind of tranquilizer, right?
It's whatever they gave Will to put him to sleep.
Yeah. Just another thing to make you hate Billy, as he's starting to beat up on the one guy that was a jerk last season, is now kind of on his redemption arc, and then Billy comes in and just beats the ever-loving crap. I mean, it isn't just like one punch he's down. He just wails on him, and then they knock him out with they knock Billy out with the tranquilizer, and then pick Steve up and throw him in the car, and he's going down the road, waking up in the back of the car, not realizing what in the world he's going on, but he is completely black and blue. He's bloodied all over the place. It's not good. But anyway, again, Billy is going to be a very essential character as we get into season 3. So, our taste of Billy here, as bad as it is, it got worse during that fight. That's for sure. You do not like Billy. But you love Max. Max standing up to him. Don't mess with my friends.
Yeah, see where she grabs the bat with the nails on it and swings it and lands it between his legs.
Oh, right between his legs. That's right.
Just it's like, I don't know how I can make my point any clearer.
Yeah. Good stuff. That's all I had, though. I didn't have any other notes here. So if you got anything else there.
I did have a note about episode 4. Just a minor thing. We have, it's the big breakdown fight between Elle and Hopper. When he doesn't show up, she decides like, well, if you're not going to obey the rules, I'm not going to obey the rules. And she escapes the house, and she goes out and she sees Mike. He doesn't see her. He gets the feeling she's around because he sees something happen. He's like, looks like it was done with powers. Wait, is that Elle? And Hopper's furious with her for escaping because she was spotted and someone did call the police.
Oh, yeah.
And it just erupts into a giant temper tantrum on Elle's part, with her using her powers to throw everything around the house. And I just remember watching, it's like, 13-year-olds are going to have temper tantrums. And when you add telekinetic powers into that, it's going to get really ugly.
I remember when I was making my notes, I was like, I've experienced 13 I've got one more that's got to go through 13 years old and further. And I wouldn't know what to do if they were able to pick me up and throw me somewhere mentally. So it's got to be rough for Hopper, who's trying to tell her to calm down, and you're not going to get a kid to calm down by just
telling them to calm down. No.
Right.
It reminded me a lot of the movie Brightburn. Did you see that
No,
movie?
I want to watch that so bad too, because
Yeah.
I've been wanting to see it. But tell me what happens, because I've heard a lot about it.
Well, Brightburn is essentially a retelling of Superman's origin story, but it's the idea of what if the child, when he found out he had superpowers, decided he wasn't going to be controlled. And there are multiple scenes of this kid who, has all the powers of Superman: flight, heat vision, super strength, just wreaking havoc on his enemies and getting revenge on all these people who have been mean to him. And I remember thinking to myself, we're supposed to see this child as a villain, but let's face it, we all would have done that. I refuse to believe that there isn't one person out there who wasn't a hormonal pain in the ass, the world must suffer teenager at one point in your life, even just like one day, that if you had powers, you wouldn't use them to inflict pain because you were so upset.
Oh, yeah. As a kid, there's that part of rationalization probably hasn't grown into you yet, to where you understand that what you can do has further consequences than just the moment that you do them in. So yeah, I mean, I remember those days, having to go through and being angry at my parents, or especially being angry at kids, peers at school.
Oh yeah, like I said, I got picked on a lot. I was hormonal as hell. I cried like crazy when I was 13, 14. I would cry at the drop of a hat. I'm not the only one. I know a lot of girls go through that at that age. And just like I'm watching Elle just use her powers to throw this hissy fit, and I'm like, yeah, right there with you, Elle.
All the more to at least support that episode 7 has some kind of redeeming quality. The fact that she chose mercy instead of, pantsing some dude mentally or something like that, like I would have probably done. And although she did make that one guy pee himself, but he was a jerk. So
she's her friend and she's crazy. That line will never get old.
No, it will not.
But yeah, so we're going to be taking a look at season 3 coming up here in October. It's not on the schedule quite yet, folks. We'll be getting it on there soon. October is kind of a crazy month for both of us, so let's see what we can do to. Hold on a second.
Okay. Bless you.
Don't you hate that when you feel the sneeze coming up the tube, but it's like, wait, it's still like, it's not totally here yet, but I know it's going to happen.
I remember trying to podcast, and like within 5 minutes of the podcast starting, I got the hiccups.
Oh, no.
Like, there could be nothing worse than that. Trying to talk and do something and have the hiccups. So sneezing.
Oh my God.
As long as you don't have a sneezing fit, which I've been there too.
I had a girlfriend who would get sneezing fits, and just instinctively, I would always say, bless you. Gesundheit.
Bless you.
We're feeling, and after a while, she just was like, will you stop saying that?
Wait for them all to be done, and then hit her with one bless you. And
I didn't know if she was done or not.
That's funny.
I can't help it. I have good manners.
Brought up well.
Yeah, even if I would have used my telekinesis to trash a house.
That's okay.
All right. But yeah, season 2 was great. Looking forward to talking about season 3. I think season 3 is probably actually my favorite season in the entire. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We get to see so much development with these characters. We get to see a little more variance with the villains. It's not just the government, and it's not just the Demogorgons now. We're getting a lot more about the threat of the Upside Down and where it's coming from and how it's getting into our world. Yeah. And I'm glad about that, because I was, if I feel like that if they had done this again with season 3, it would have started to get repetitive. So I love it when you can see there's like, okay, we got to think outside the box. We got to do a different thing. How do we keep the threat but present it in a new way?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Look forward to it.
Definitely. And if there's nothing else to talk about, then let's go ahead and do our plugs.
All right. Do I go first? I go first, right?
Yes, you go first.
All right. Well, hey, ladies and gentlemen, I do a podcast. It's called the Unspoken Issues podcast, the Source Material podcast, and the Snap Material podcast. That's right. I do 3 podcasts. You can go check out the Source Material Comics podcast on YouTube or any podcatcher out there, where we talk comics of just about any era on that podcast. Just this past Monday, me and Mark discussed our final entry into the 2015 Darth Vader series, and we did all 20 some issues. It might have been more than 25 issues because Mark wanted to do Vader Down, which went into the Star Wars comic as well, that Marvel was doing. So, but yeah, we talked some Darth Vader, and what an interesting, it was a good story about one of the most iconic villains in movie history. So if you're interested, check that out. That aired this past Monday. Unspoken Issues is a podcast that I do where it's 90s comics all the time in affiliation with the Unspoken Decade. It was about the 8th. It was the 8th of September. It was myself and Chris Armstrong getting together and discussing Spectacular Spider-Man number 185. And you might wonder, why in the world is that issue very, it seems like an oddball issue. Well, you might have seen the cover. It had Spider-Man with 2 frog people on the side of him, and one of them is Frogman, and the other one is Leapfrog. Father and son, villain turned hero. The father was, and then the son decided to take the mantle and change it to. I think he changed it to Frogman because he idolized Spider-Man.
So wasn't Leapfrog kind of the joke of the Marvel Universe?
Leapfrog was not exactly the best supervillain. We'll just put it that way. And that's why Chris chose this book, because a lot of times those, or at least with Frogman, a lot of his stories are humorous. And they are going up against the Walrus and White Rabbit. Again, 2 villains that don't know their butt from a hole in the ground. So
I remember Leapfrog was on the She-Hulk series. He sued the costume designer because he said that the costume was ill-bend and malfunctioned, and they were able. And Daredevil was representing the other guy, and he pointed out, well, yeah, because your client is an idiot who used the wrong fuel, so of course it didn't work. And I remember us talking about it when we reviewed that series, about how Leapfrog is one of those characters that just shows up and everyone goes, oh shit, not again.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. It was a fun discussion. And then the Snap Material podcast. If you play Marvel Snap, me and Evan Bevins get together once a month, drop about 4 or 5 episodes in a month, about 20 minutes a piece, where we discuss what happened the previous season, what happened the upcoming season. We do a top 5, and Evan picks some crazy top 5 subjects. And this most recent top 5, we each picked our top 5 cards. So the cards are, of Marvel characters that remind us of football. Because by golly, kickoff happened a couple weeks ago, and we thought we'd jump in there with a theme. So if you're, again, those are a few podcasts that I'm involved with. And then one more shout out, currently in the middle of doing a special bunch of Unspoken Issues episodes dedicated to Black September, which was an event that happened back in 1995. This is the 30th anniversary of Black September, where Marvel acquired Malibu. And you may know some of those Malibu superheroes. I think the most popular of which was Prime. So Marvel owns Prime. Do you see Prime? No, you don't see Prime. Prime hasn't showed up for years, but they still own these characters. They don't use them. So I decided to take Unspoken Issues and focus on the lead up to that event where Black Knight ends up in the Malibu universe. And then we have Ultra Force versus Avengers. And right now they rebooted everything. I'm getting to the point where they rebooted everything and brought out, I think, 8. It might either be 7 or 8 titles from Malibu's Ultraverse. And they were all black covers. And they, because it's the 90s, what issue number is it? Issue number Infinity. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so it's real special. But anyway, no, me and Chris Armstrong are going to be jumping more into that here. But if you want to learn a little bit about that, I've got a bunch of episodes out there that kind of shine a light on what's What went down during Black September. And now I'm done plugging things. It's time for the honeysuckle hustle.
That makes Robert laugh every time I do.
Wait. Can you dance again so I can understand why you didn't go to the dances or why you shouldn't have went to the dance? Do it. That looks like some stuff.
40-year-old white woman dancing in her living room.
Oh, shoot. Good stuff. I am done. You please continue with the honeysuckle hustle.
All right. Well, as far as plugs for the Rattlegion Broadcasting Network, last night, Robert Winfrey and I discussed the new Stephen King adaptation, The Long Walk, just came out into theaters. I said it's already ending up in my top 10 list of best of 2025. Robert said he's not sure, and we ended up losing about a half an hour trying to decide if this was better or worse than other Stephen King adaptations, and we went through the whole list.
Didn't expect.
And it's a good thing we did, because when we were originally trying to remember, we would have completely forgotten about Misery, and then we would have hated ourselves. Seriously, though, I absolutely. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, speaking of top 5 movies, we watched Weapons last night.
Yes. What did you think?
It's good. It was really good. I was like, man, that was scary, and my wife's like, it wasn't that scary. I'm like, wait a second.
Were we watching the same movie?
Wait
the scene with the forks. I had to look away during that.
Oh my gosh.
It was terrifying.
Love the movie. It was good. All right. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. And yes, we did also look at Weapons and Together and a bunch of other scary movies this year. You can find that on our Spotify, on YouTube. TV Party Tonight will be coming back, not this next week, but we have got so many shows lined up for October. On October 1st, Mark Rattledge and I will be discussing the final season of Upload. We've been following the show since the beginning. On the 8th, we are going to be talking Monsters season 3. This is the 3rd season of Ryan Murphy's Netflix series looking at real life serial killers. First season looked at Jeffrey Dahmer. Second season we just reviewed about a month and a half ago, looking at the Menendez brothers. Season 3 is focusing on Ed Gein, one of the most prolific serial killers of all time.
It's the truth.
Week after that, Jesse, you and I will be talking Alien Earth. We're going to be reviewing that on October 16th. Right. I'm actually grateful that was originally the week beforehand, but I realized that was going to be on a day that I'm doing setup at a convention. So, Mark,
busy that day.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be in St. Louis and staying with my cousin, and it's like, okay, so in addition to staying with you guys, you also need to give me a space to set up my computer.
Where's your nearest closet? I'm going in there.
Exactly. I didn't want to do that. So Mark was grateful, or kind enough, I should say, to move it a week. Week after that, on the 22nd, we're going to be talking Peacemaker season 2. You're coming back for that too, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Loving Peacemaker.
Absolutely. So somewhere in there, we'll find time to talk season 3 of Stranger Things.
Gotta happen sometime in October. I mean, my goodness, this is the show for that affiliation with Halloween for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, October is my favorite holiday, or my favorite month, because Halloween's my favorite holiday. That's what I meant.
October, I have a feeling, is your favorite holiday. You would probably celebrate it as a holiday, as Halloween instead of September or October. So I get it.
It's just 31 days of Halloween.
Yeah, I've got to ask, do you have any Halloween decorations up yet?
It's actually kind of funny. A couple of years ago, my parents gave me a giant stuffed Oogie Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas as a gift. And he stays on, we have a long table in our front hallway, and he stays on that year round. Nice. And my family's just like, it's not Halloween. Why is he up? I'm like, because I'm not taking him down. I also have a stuffed Zero and a jack-o'-lantern Pikachu, little stuffed Pikachu jack-o'-lantern on the bookshelf in our living room.
Okay. Nothing outside, though.
Not yet.
I was going to say, I have seen at least 3 houses in my neighborhood. They have already got, we're like just midway through September, they have got skeletons and everything out there, witches, and I'm like,
Mhm.
wow, this is early. This is dedication to the holiday for sure, the holiday of October.
I do have a sign that says "Welcome, Great Pumpkin." Unfortunately, I got to redo it. The wood broke. Last year we had really strong winds, and it just pushed that thing over and snapped the wood in half.
Bummer.
So I talked with my husband. I'm like, should we fix it? And he said, nah, just go make a new one. I know you want to go paint again. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I do.
I do.
So it's like, fine. Tempt me with acrylic paint, my weakness. So I'm going to be making a new one and hopefully putting that out pretty soon. Hopefully the wind's not, for some wood. There we go. Knock on wood. Hopefully the wind's not so strong this year that happens again.
Right.
And as far as, yes, the plugs that pay me, Honeysuckle Rose Creations, where fashion meets fandom at the intersection of geek and chic. Now, like I mentioned, we do have another convention coming up. We're heading to GalaxyCon in St. Louis. GalaxyCon is a massive network of shows. They do events around the country year-round. Really excited. They always bring top A-list celebrities. We are getting a Mummy reunion.
Ooh, interesting.
So excited, so happy. Looking forward to that. Again, most of my family lives in St. Louis. I'm always excited to go out and see them. After that, we're going to be heading to the Twin Cities Con. I may have to find someone to watch my table because Paul Dini is going to be there.
Wow, that's awesome.
I am normally not the person that gets in line for autographs because I work my booth. It's like,
right.
I'm here to work. I'm here to make money. This is my job. Paul Dini is big enough for me that's like, I may need to shut down for a little bit and go get this man's autograph.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you have any idea what you'd get signed or?
The Zatanna book, of course. You remember that was one of the first books I reviewed with you guys.
Yeah. That's awesome. That'll be great.
Oh my God, I love him. So got that. And then Planet Anime here in Kansas City. That will finish out the year. As always, you can find our stuff on our Etsy and Handmade at Amazon stores. Both are fully stocked, and you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, not on Twitter, and TikTok as long as it's still available. So thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next month. Thank you to Jesse Starcher for joining us. I'm Alexis Hejna, and remember, friends don't lie.